In this video, I wanted to talk about the winter storms and what's been going on in our country. What's been going on has really impacted me and has made me just stop and think and reflect in my heart about so many things that has been going on. Seeing people on videos just struggling to get water from a water spout and seeing how water has been contaminated, and to think that this nation and this country has come to a point where we can barely survive is really eye-opening. And just reflecting on it, I just feel that more now than ever, we all need to come together and to help our neighbor. And when I say help our neighbor, I don't mean our next door neighbor. I mean the neighbor that's at the grocery store, the neighbor that's down the street. Now more than ever, we all need to come together to help each other, to get through these times together. Because I'm realizing that the people at the top, whoever they may be, it doesn't seem like they care about us. It's our job to impact this earth as human beings and to spread God's love throughout the world and throughout this earth, throughout this country. But now more than ever, it's time for us to spread God's kingdom and to show what that is all about. We've gotten it wrong over the years of how to spread His love and how to impact society, to show that God cares. And it's hard to see when there's a lot of suffering going on, and I hate it, and I hate suffering. But suffering, what it does, it reveals truth about us, and it builds us, and it helps us to grow stronger and to be able to conquer the trials that comes down or that comes later on in our lives. And you can even see that suffering brings people together. From the snowstorm to hurricanes back in the past, you see that in times of suffering, more people unite together for the common good. But this common good doesn't need to come from our righteousness or come from us, but to reflect how God wants earth to look, and how He wants us to spread His glory and spread His image. And that what we're looking for is from God's kingdom, His mercy, His forgiveness, most importantly, His acceptance. When we realize that God accepts everybody, once we realize that we can all look at ourselves and understand that I'm no better than the next person. But yeah, as I reflect, it's definitely been some tough times. I mean, even me and my wife, we've been without water for 3 or 4 days, but I think it's supposed to be back on today, hopefully. Me personally, has brought me and my wife closer together through this. I mean, 1 year of marriage, less than 1 year of marriage, and we've been through COVID, been through a snowstorm, been through so many things. This is like, how in the world can we continue to keep going through things like this? But it's definitely strengthened us and growing us. Who knows, as a humanity, we may be going through some dark times here. And I think that's when we need to spread God's light now more than ever. When people need to see that, especially coming from Christians, we don't need to condemn people and cast them down and make them not feel accepted when our King already accepts us. It's not having to work to please God. It's accepting His love, and then from accepting His love, doing what He wants us to do out of that love. So in these times that's coming, I mean, who knows what's about to go on? Who knows what's about to go down? We definitely need to stay watchful. We definitely need to stay in His presence, and we definitely need to love up on each other. But first, understand that we are accepted by God, and I think the world needs to understand that. I think the church needs to do a better job of letting the world know that as you are accepted. And to close on this, it reminds me of the parable of the wedding banquet. The king, he had a wedding banquet for his son, and he invited everybody from all over. And the people that he invited, they turned down his invitation. They didn't want to come. They had better things to do. This infuriated the king, and he was like, you know what? These people who I invited first didn't deserve to come to my wedding banquet for my son. Let's go out and invite everyone that you see in the streets, the good and the bad. So the good and the bad, they all came to his wedding banquet, and the king noticed that it was someone who came in who wasn't covered in the wedding clothes, which is basically Jesus's righteousness. How did this person get in without any wedding clothes? Let's kick him out. But the key point in that story was that the bad and the good were all accepted into the wedding banquet. Jesus invited the bad and the good into the wedding banquet. So it is no way for us to know anyone's hearts. Only God knows. Only He knows who will be accepted into His kingdom. And it's not our job to judge the world, the church. Yeah, we definitely need to hold each other accountable. Yes. But we can't go out and judge the world when we have no idea how God is seeing things. We just have to trust that in His wisdom that He is making the right, just decisions. And we just have to leave it at that. It's hard to want to receive God's acceptance, accepting you as you are. And just like in any nation or any country, there will always be suffering. Same thing in God's kingdom, but your suffering is meant for a purpose in His kingdom. To my kings and queens, I invite you into the kingdom. Till next time.